Okay, this is TI News. I've been thinking of making some information broadcast for target individuals for quite some time now, and the fact that Wednesday is London TI Day, and there is going to be the London TI Day event. It seemed quite a good a good occasion to start making this live broadcast. So yeah, so I would encourage everyone to attend on Wednesday. I, um, I have already had quite a number of confirmations. People telling me that they're going to be there. So I have actually the feeling that this London TI Day may be quite well attended, and so yeah. So I would encourage everyone to, if they live in London, if they live close to London, if they think they are able to travel from different parts of the country to be there. I think is at the moment we have a deep dash security state completely out of control. So obviously, International TI Day is very unlikely to put an end to targeting. But it may be a good opportunity for people to get to know all the target individuals, to make friends, to maybe find out that in their part of the country there is, or close by in London, there is other TI targeted individual living there. So and then I'm very focused on this idea of having like a friendly, full of energy, full of good vibe festival outside BBC Broadcasting House after people meet up and get to know each other a bit in Hyde Park. A speaker corner in front of Speaker Corner Cafe. That's the meeting point. And then after a while, there's a 15-20 minutes walk to BBC Broadcasting House from there. And I really focus on the idea of this festival like something really friendly and full of good vibe, full of energy, positive energy, and I, as often as once a week, I'm already in front of the BBC on my own, and I have every time I am there, I have having conversation with people. I give away a number of leaflets. I can say I get an enormous amount of attention from the people there, but I'm getting a bit of attention. So people that know the security people there know me because the past they kept coming to have a chat with me, so they know me by now. And you should, unless people behave in any kind of offensive or abusive manner, there's not going to be any problem there. In February last year, we had 25 people there in 2017, and there was not any problem. We were able to use a megaphone. There was not any problem, so I don't expect any problem this time. So the idea is, I'm going to bring a lot of literature. I'm going to bring placards. I'm going to bring banners and one megaphone. But I very much encourage people, to bring stuff if they are able to, or like they can print their own literature. They can make placard if they want to. All it takes is just a piece of cardboard and a felt pen. So it's not very difficult to make a placard. And I don't know if you want to bring an extra megaphone or whatever, but also people, if they want, they can bring books on targeting. And that's something then they can show it to passerby, or if people stop, ask questions, you show the book. People may want to print a number of good articles on targeting with all documented, with all the references, showing all the patents. The under patent they've been patenting since the 40 and the 50 about the technologies of microwave technologies, technology of mind control is all there. So people may want to bring print out a number of good articles about targeting with all the documentation, all the references, and then they end up having a conversation with members of the public or people coming out to the building. They can maybe make them have a look at the article or books. People want to bring all kind of gadget, mobile phone, laptop with video on them that can be shown. So the idea is to create a big multimedia festival with even the possibility of showing people, you show them your laptop, you show them a video or something, you show them a book, an article, you discuss it with them. So ideally, the idea is to create a big multimedia festival, so people encouraged to make placards, bring their own literature if they want, books, article, video on a laptop, on a mobile phone, a gadget, which everything helps to create a big multimedia festival to get people involved with, friendly, with good vibe, with positive energy. That's the idea. Back a bit to the logistics. If you, I'm not very big on buses, but as also the time I travel around with a motorcycle, but I think if you're going to use the tube, your best bet is to use the Central Line westbound to get out at Marble Arch. And then you get out to the station at Marble Arch. You can see there is a roundabout in front of you, and then on the other side of the roundabout you can see iPark, the entrance to iPark. So what you do, you navigate your way through the roundabout, you get on the other side to the entrance to iPark, you get in, and then there is just in front of the entrance, there is a small path, maybe not even 5 minutes. You follow this path and you get to the Speaker Corner Cafe. It's Wednesday, it's a weekday, so there is no Speaker Corner there because because Speaker Corner is on Sundays only. So it's probably not to be a huge amount of people around there. You may get a few walkers, a few joggers going by, and then you see this little open air cafe, the Speaker Corner Cafe. It should be in front of there, so people can possibly miss us, and that's the logistic to find us. Then the idea, people. We spend some time waiting for everyone to join us. People may be late, and people will start to introduce themselves a bit, and then when maybe after 1 hour and a half, when it's clear that everyone is there, we may start taking the 15-20 minutes walk to BBC Broadcasting House, which is basically going through Oxford Street and then turning left into Upper Regent Street, and then the BBC is there. BBC Broadcasting House is there, so it's a relatively short walk. And then once there, we may try to stage a friendly, festival to make people aware of what is going on with with good vibes, good positive energy. Using everything, using literature, using placards, using banners, using a megaphone, and maybe even showing people books about targeting if people want to bring them along or something. I have a couple myself I may want to bring. Printing out article about targeting to show people, even bringing gadget, laptop, mobile phone with videos. So you adapt. Depending on the situation you have there, you see what you can do, what you cannot do, and You try to be creative, to adjust to circumstances, and to make the most of it, and to make the most of getting people attention, spreading awareness, etc., etc. So this is the idea. And then for lunch, people are welcome to bring their own food, drinks, soft drinks. Um, or there's a huge amount of cafe in the area. Even inside the BBC building on the ground floor, there is a Cafe Nero there. So at 10, if you go up and down Upper Regent Street, there is every couple of doors is a cafe, or So you can bring your own food and soft drinks. You can. Go around there, take something away, bring it back, and I would recommend people not to use any alcohol on the first part of the day. When we had 25 people last year in February, there was a couple of people who were drinking alcohol. It was not a really good karma there, so it didn't create any major problem, but it didn't create any major problem, but it was not particularly helpful. So I would say people, if not to consume any alcohol in Hyde Park, in front of BBC Broadcasting House, because then like mid to late afternoon, we are going to walk to this pub, the Cock Tavern in Phoenix Road by the British Library. And then, we have the ballroom booked until closing time, so people then can drink how much they like. So I would suggest people in the first part of the day, like in Hyde Park, in front of the BBC, that not to consume any alcohol. And then if people want to, obviously, when we get to the Cock Tavern and the ballroom, and people can drink as much as they like. That's that is the idea. So what else? So I gave you the logistics, how to get there. And then when we get to the Cock Tavern, people the chance for people to socialize, to maybe introduce themselves a bit more at length, and to discuss a few topics which are really important for the TI community. That may be how to organize, how everyone can engage in some DIY activism if they want to, print their own literature, identify certain area. Even if you live in a rural area, you can identify a shopping mall and somewhere where you can leaflet. So it's the idea also to discuss matters which are most relevant to the TI community, and then we have the use of the ballroom until 11 o'clock, say even possibly 11:30. We have to use the ballroom, and then another thing we may want to discuss then is if you want to do something, because some people maybe may travel a bit to get down to London, so something we may want to discuss if we want to do something, think that hopefully there's going to be a few people there. If we, at least maybe not people may have already a return ticket or something, but if people are able to stick around a bit, something we may want to discuss is doing something the next day, which is a Thursday, the 30th. Even like something as a picnic in the park, when people can get again a chance to socialize and getting to know each other, make friends, or something as like going outside in front of Downing Street. They have a little visual there or whatever. So maybe so the Cock Tavern boardroom, a chance for people to discuss many things, including the fact if they want to carry on doing something on the following day, what they would like to do on the following day. So ideas, suggestions, the people able to stick around, etc. So that's about it for London TI Day. Some people may be interested to know what's happening with Brian Harvey, which Brian Harvey was the former frontman of E17 pop group. And then at some point he gets sacked for. It's a very long story, so I'm not going to go into all that. But basically, Brian Harvey is complaining about being targeted by the power that be, or the deep state, the security state, and in way which are some of the stuff is saying are very similar and reminiscent of what stuff happening to target individuals. So even though, to be entirely honest, I watched quite a number of Brian videos, I don't think at any point is connecting himself to the TI community or target individual. I never heard him saying the word, basically, the TI target individual. So likewise, I never heard him talking about anything connected to electronic harassment. But some of the stuff he's been getting over the years is very much a lot of target individuals will recognize them as gang stalking. So I also think that there's been some contact with at least one target individual in London and Brian. There was been some communication between a specific target individual in London and Brian. So today Brian was due to attend Ivory Coast Magistrate Court this morning in relation to the fact that I think last year he made some tweet comments which may have been constructed, or maybe as a stretch or something, I don't know, but they are being constructed by the police as being making basically threatening toward one, or I'm not entirely sure, either one or more individuals. So then so he's been charged with that, making threatening comment online. That's the charge anyway. So this morning there was this 9 o'clock. There was the hearing at Ivory Coast Magistrate Court. And what I learned later in today was that the hearing was adjourned to the September 17, the 7th of September. So yeah, and then I think if you're interested to find out more, you can go on YouTube. You can do a search for Brian Harvey, and there is the 3-4 minutes video, which is not being made by Brian, but some other alternative media, of Brian outside after the hearing, after the adjournment this morning. Brian outside Ivory Coast Magistrate Court, commenting on the fact that the hearing has been adjourned, commenting on the fact that the nature of the case and the nature of his situation over the years, how he feels being persecuted by the security state, etc., etc. So if you do a search for Brian Harvey on YouTube, you may be able to easily find this 3-4 minutes video. Brian outside this morning after the adjournment, Brian outside Ivory Coast Magistrate Court, explaining the situation, the adjournment, is the case against him, or what happened in the past, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, so people are interested. So yeah, so basically, yeah. Also, is yeah. As I seen some of the comment there, and yeah, it is obviously that's something that not very important. Is that it's not just TI Day. It's not just a London event. Far from it. Actually, the idea came out of the United States, and there is going to be, as far as I know, there's going to be events, at least I'm sure probably in a fairly largish number of American cities. I know about Chicago, I know about Philadelphia, I think something in San Diego, but I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be dozens of cities and in the US. And then there are events in London, obviously in Europe. There is an event in Warsaw, one in Rome, one in Paris, in Place de la Concorde. That's the location. I don't remember the time. I think it was probably a bit later in the day, about 2 p.m. in the afternoon, in Paris. In Warsaw, probably starting in the morning. I don't remember the location. So, but I think that actually there's, for instance, in Poland, there tends to be quite a large, very proactive TI community, possibly one of the largest in Europe. And I don't know if that is due to the fact that Poland has been joining NATO at quite a later stage in fairly recent years, and then maybe the entire country and a lot of people started being used as guinea pig for all kind of experiment and mind control experiment and manipulation experiment by the NATO deep state security state apparatus. And so I don't know the reason. There is a large, very large proactive TI community in Poland. Then there is an event in Paris, as I said. I think it's starting at 2 p.m. in Place de la Concorde in central Paris. There is an event in Rome. Whilst the Warsaw and the Paris event, I think they can be easily found on Facebook. There is an event in Rome, which I don't think is not being advertised on Facebook. But if you do a search, it should come up fairly easily on Google. So at that time, I'm sure there is going to be an event in Australia and in Canada. There is a fairly large TI community there, and but I think that's some of the major events. There's probably a lot of other events I did not have a chance to find out about. So I mean, I'm only talking about the one I heard positive. I got positive information, but I'm pretty sure that in terms of in terms of even only like 4 or 5 people in meeting in the city center with a few placards, I think possibly, the number of cities affected all over the world, they're probably going to run into the hundreds. I think, if you consider, or even just maybe in certain instances, just one person or two people with a placard or something. And then we probably, the location, the cities involved, they're probably going to run into the hundreds, I think. And I hope everyone is probably going to produce some video, and then also there's we may start thinking what we want to do with the videos, because if you have a lot of hundreds of video coming out from 100 different locations, then there is room for another project to create a DVD, to put everything together to spread awareness. So that basically, I'm sure that if you think like maybe 3-4 people or a couple of people in the city center with placards, it's probably going to run into the hundreds. And unfortunately, because of the horrific nature of what they're doing to us, it's probably a lot easier to find TI online than to find TI meeting up in real life. But that's because people are damaged so horrifically by what is being done to us. So if you go online and do a Google search for something like target individual gang stalking, you find 10,000 of entries. Whilst if you look for people, often that doesn't reflect entirely on the number of people you get when you organize some event, and that is because it is horrific damage that they're doing to target individuals. It's like living, like someone said, it's like living in an electronic concentration camp. We have day after day, we have basically the quality of life, the freedom of a lab rat. So, and then another subject which is kind of dear to me is the fact that, I will be great if some people watch this video and they are in any way involved in in alternative media, they decide, to come down and to either to get some video, audio feed, or some video feed, or some recording or something, and then use it at a later stage for to disseminate it later on alternative media. I've tried. I have if I know a few people involved in alternative media. I'm going to contact them all. I hope someone is going to join us, and that will help to spread awareness and to help the exposure of what is happening to us. So there is 4 days left to Wednesday, and I plan to work around the clock to to phone people, email people, try to persuade people to get involved, or just. And also another thing is, that may be a bit controversial, but like when during 2016, 2017, we had a lot of meeting and protest, and some of them were up to 25 people strong, including the other vigil we had in front of the BBC last year in February. There was some 25 people there. I always try to, political activists or whistleblowers, or everyone who feel in any way like persecuted by the deep security apparatus, they're totally welcome to join it. Sometimes it's a bit controversial because some people, like, some target individuals, sometimes they probably feel more inclined to have an event which is just for target individual. But at the end of the day, they open event, so you're not, you don't have a chance to, to decide in advance who is going to be there. So my philosophy is like fellow political activists and whistleblower, anyone which through different circumstances ended up feeling that they're being actually actively persecuted by the deep Daesh security state. They are most welcome. That's the way it is. I hope people don't have any problem with that, because if the aim, which I believe it is to spread awareness, and through spreading awareness to to have at least, if not to make all targeting, and at least to have some sort of pushback effect, which may end up making people's life a lot easier. So obviously, it's very important to get political activists involved. I just found this very interesting article today of a political. I may go into this quickly later, which is basically a very recent article by a political activist in Bristol, and complaining about being harassed by the police for his activism. But it's quite interesting, because usually if you talk about target individuals and an intensive kind of harassment, we are getting basically, you may even say, very close to 24/7, and then you talk about political activists. There's some time yet. If you talk to political activists, you will be hard to find a political activist who doesn't have a story to tell, like something really strange happening to them, and then they're not entirely sure, did that happen by accident? Did that happen by design? But in a way, is quite two different worlds in a way. The thing target individual have to say, and the experience of political activists when they get in all different forms of harassment, which to me is like, to make a long story short, I think if they thought they could get away with it, they would start rolling out all the stuff, doing to target individual on all the known political activists, whistleblower, everyone creating problems for this corporative state. They will start, if they thought they could get away, uh, they will start to get away with it. They will start tomorrow rolling out all this program on all kind of political activists, but they are afraid of the backlash. So anyway, there is what political activists get, what target individual get is it's often quite there's a lot of differences. But it's quite interesting because I found this article and he describes from this political activist in Bristol, he described things being done to him by the police to harass him, and it may also be because he's trying to sue the police for wrongful arrest, and that's when things start to happen. Obviously, when people start to do that, yeah. So I try to have a look at some of the things you say, having researched some of these in avoiding paranoia as much as possible, I discover that police stalking tactics have long been used off the record in the UK and beyond. All the above are intimidation tactics and nothing more. It seems a certain element of the local community have also been involved with tales, garbled shouted abuse and aggressive on beeps, also used by undercover officers, designed to intimidate me. So it's over the past 6 months, various forms, including social media monitoring, hacking, attempt to follow me home at night, undercover officer following me into pubs, seeming constant monitoring by plainclothes officers around my local area with the support of area cars and vans. This has been extended to Bristol city centre with targeted blaring sirens and use of full beamed lights in broad daylight. So so basically it will go on and on. So I find it quite interesting because your way of the feeling like there is the nature of the harassment inflicted on targeted individuals and the nature of harassment inflicted on political activists is very different. But in a way, we've been looking over the years for the missing link. This article is from this activist in Bristol. This recent article from this activist in Bristol is quite interesting because he's talking about vans, park outside his dwellings and blaring sirens going off all the time and light beams being used and all kinds of things. He say about the people in the local community being enrolled in harassment. So that's quite interesting because in a way it represents what I've been looking for quite some time now, which is the missing link between the harassment being inflicted on target individual and the harassment being inflicted on ordinary political activists. So so basically, I think I gone through most of the thing I wanted to go through. One thing that I mentioned is that the fact that people doesn't need to feel disempowered because even a targeted individual living in a rural area even can print their own literature, leaflet, but also if they don't want to create their own literature, they can download it from the internet. Just recently, I came across This lady Alice on Island, which she is the one we did organize last year, and the Unity and Hope conference in Boston, I think it was, outside Boston. And she, in one of her recent newsletters, there is a couple of links where you can download some literature in PDF format, and then you can print it out. And I had a good look, and I printed out, and I printed out some of this leaflet. And at some time when, if I am out and about campaigning and I get into an in-depth discussion with someone, and I give them my leaflet, but then if the discussion carry on for some time and we touch on different things, then I may want to show them also some articles, printed articles, some literature being produced by other people and stuff. So I think, I will encourage people to, it's very disempowering to be a target individual. I will encourage people to try to empower themselves by printing their own literature. And then even if they live in a rural area, they can still identify a shopping mall, a shopping center nearby, where they can go a leaflet to local people. So yeah, that's another thing is to find, and it's quite important for people to empower themselves, to find to try really hard to find if they can find any fellow target individual living nearby. Then it's quite important that target individual, beyond the big events, meeting, rallies, which are also very important to spread awareness, also they try to establish some relationship of friendship and trust with other target individuals, because maybe some activism done by just 2 or 3 people, which really have a friendly relationship, know each other, trust each other, is possibly more effective than having maybe 20 people there, but in a kind of disjoint kind of way. So that's what I advise everyone to do, to empower themselves. Try very hard to find out if you have any other fellow target individual in your area. Try to establish some friendship, some trust, which is quite important, and work together. So yeah, and I think that's as far. Another thing I would like to which I will mention is quite important. When we target individual talk about what's happening to us, it may be not just with members of the public, but they talk about what is happening to us between ourselves, between target individual. I think it's quite important I know it may be difficult at times, but I think it's very important for people to try to be as rational as possible in the way they express themselves. I mean, if you do it with members of the public non-target, that is going to greatly increase our credibility. If you talk about what's happening to you, to fellow target individual, and you try really to be as rational as possible in the way you express yourself, that may generate more trust, because there is a lot of mistrust in the TI community. Often people blurting out things. Oh, this thing happened to me, like a big shopping list, without really providing any context. And then people think, oh, that sounds a bit, even the fellow target individual think, oh, that sounds a bit strange to me, and it's not happening to me, I'm not entirely sure about that. So in a way, if the target individual were to put in the effort to every time they describe what's happening to them, not just to non-target, a member of the public, but also within the TI community, try to be as rational as possible. That will create a lot of trust amongst target individual, which is it is quite sometimes it's quite in short supply, because you have all the time people squabbling, and you know, Bill may have heard recently about the Dutch crime fighter forum, people like being ended in with a bit of squabbling, and people accusing each other of different things. So I mean, you have plenty of evidence. It's just very difficult. I myself have always been trying all the time. I've been doing TI activism. I always try not to get involved in any squabble, in any attacking or criticizing other target individuals. The only exception is that maybe for a couple of weeks, a few months ago, when I had an unbelievable situation at home and under pressure from every direction. So I kind of lost a bit the plot, and I started accusing people. But for which, after that, I unreservedly apologized to all the people involved, and I retracted my allegation and stuff. But then it's very difficult, because even nowadays it's only been, it's only been for a couple of weeks a few months ago, and it's only been for a couple of weeks a few months ago that I completely unreservedly apologized for that, and I completely retracted all, withdraw all the allegation I may have made at the time. But I still feel that people still holding it against me. So in a way, people don't easily forget to forgive. So I mean, even though it's been quite some time now, and it's a thing which should be in the past. So in a way, there is a way problem. I think there is a way problem of trust between target individual, and if people were to try to express themselves in as a rational a way as possible, it not just will increase our credibility vis-a-vis of the general public and the alternative media, etc., but also it probably will improve the quality of the relationship between target individuals. Because personally, I think, like, if you go for the shopping list approach, like you're talking either to members of the public or to fellow target individuals, you say, you make a big shopping list. Such and such thing happened to me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but without giving any context. Even like. Like even fellow target individuals, they may say, like, "Oh, this sounds a bit strange to me. Or this thing doesn't happen to me." So so I think it's always important to give context. You may say to people, like, we have a deep Daesh security state which is completely out of control. And then you can tell people, like, before you start getting into description of what's all the different things happen to you, so you can create a bit of context. You say, like, there is every day you come across credible article, even in mainstream media occasionally, or fake stream media, and also in alternative media. They're well-documented articles, with references, with all the references, and and some of the stuff they denounce about the activity of the deep Daesh security state is actually, that's a good way of approaching people. So actually, all the stuff coming out every day about the activity of the deep security state is actually a lot stranger in a way, some of it, of what we are trying to tell people about what's happening to us. So so give it context. That I came across some, that's quite interesting, because there's this Guardian article which is basically, people say, like, so try to give it context in the context of all the crazy demented things that the deep Dutch security state is getting up to. We have something new, something new every day. Like that. This is a Guardian article saying like between 1940 and 1979, the government was spraying all over the country with viruses, bacteria, obnoxious substances, heavy metals, and stuff. And basically, the purpose of that, which is was to chart the spreading of this kind of substances, how quickly they were spreading in the atmosphere, how quickly they were spreading amongst the population in a underground tunnel, in the tube, and on public transport, and to see how people were affected by all these viruses, by all these bacteria, by all these heavy metals. And then at the end of the article, it says ask whether such tests are still being carried out. A spokesperson said, it is not our policy to discuss ongoing research. So, basically they're saying like, all this stuff was basically based around places like Porton Down, which is used to be called a center for research on biological warfare. And now that they've been rebranding it several times, and I don't know what is the last rebranding, but it's it's MOD Research Center or something. If you try a way to give context, try to don't just blurt out, they're doing this to me, they're doing that to me, because, particularly if you're talking with the ordinary member of the public, the reaction, people don't realize that the reaction, they're mentally conditioned to think, oh, this is crazy. So, give context to what you're saying, mention MK Ultra, some of the unbelievable things they were doing to people on MK Ultra. And there has been a number of people victim of MK Ultra. They got their day in court, they get apologies, they get compensation, but we, which are the modern victim of MK Ultra, so far we are not getting any apologies, we are not getting any peace, we are not getting any compensation. So, to try to give context, there's people may have heard about this other thing which happened a few months ago, maybe 3 months ago, where a independent journalist in the United States made a freedom of information request. Basically, I think I don't remember all the exact details, but I think basically it was to the FBI. With regard to the request was to find out what the FBI was doing in the way of surveillance, targeting either member of Antifa or member of far-right movements. So that's the substance of the request. And afterwards, the journalist got a reply providing some information relating to the request, but also with the material it was provided, there was also a number of documents which we were talking about. I'm sure most people in target individuals have heard about this. A number of documents relating to mind control. So people start to have a look, what this kind of document, what they exactly were, and it was found out that actually these documents were not government documents relating to some programs of mind control, which certainly exists, but these documents were not emanating from the government. It appeared find out that this document actually were material information provided by different target individuals, including one graphic from Eleanor White from Canada and other target individuals which are quite proactive in with activism, etc. But it's quite interesting because then this was commented on by by different. There was a number of articles from fake stream media. There was a number of articles commenting on this episode by alternative media. Now, what I found quite interesting at the time, that on the activism post, which is a media some of you may have heard about, is it is very sympathetic to target individuals, what we are saying, because they often have articles on mind control, on microwave technology being used to interfere with people, etc. So I would recommend people to look it up at the activism post, the activist post, because they have often articles which basically denouncing mind control, denouncing the abuse of microwave technologies, gang stalking. So after this episode on the activism post, this independent journalist called Aaron Kazel wrote this article about this episode, about this freedom of information request. So he starts by clarifying the position whereby this kind of document were made by victims, by target individuals. They were not government documents. But then he's starting charting almost a fascinating history of covert human experimentation, starting in the 40s even. And it's a 26-page document which I printed out in front of me, and he go through everything from the different MK Ultra kind of offshots, Bluebird, Artichoke, MK Search, then. MK Naomi, all these midnight climax they were conducting in San Francisco, giving people LSD without their knowledge. So, and he lists all the different patents for all the different microwave technology, the involvement of the Pentagon, the involvement of the U.S. Navy, the involvement of defense contractors, the institutes of research, the launching of different programs on mind control and human manipulation. So a 26-page full of information, all documented with all the reference, etc. So basically, what I'm trying to conclude on, is if you talking either to a member of the public, people in the alternative media, or fellow target individual, if you're telling them about what's happening to you, you may want to give context, because every day we are hearing about an unbelievable story about recently I heard about the TSA that they have this thing like if they think some travelers is anyway suspicious, they start doing a kind of thing, following this person around, sending marshal on the plane to sit behind him, and so every day we are hearing this unbelievable story about the overreach and the activity of of the deep dark security state on both sides of the Atlantic. So if you try to explain it, because people, if you say, make a shopping list to say like this thing. All this thing happening to me, people just think you're crazy. They have been conditioned, a brainwashing to believing that if people say certain things, that they must be crazy. Even when you have plenty of evidence, or you're saying certain things, so you must be crazy. They have been brainwashed, conditioned to think in this way. So I think the best way to explain to people what is going on is to give as much context as possible. Talk about MK Ultra. Talk about the fact that MK Ultra in 1974, they say we're going to stop now. it's been carried on. It's been completely dark. It's been carried on. It's been growing like a cancer, like a huge cancer on society to the present day. So, and like Ilana Freeland said, at this point, MK Ultra started to morph into MK Ultra, electronic MK Ultra. So, with this focusing on the use of microwave and ultrasound to interfere with the mind of people. And so 1974, 75, MK Ultra went completely dark, became more focused on electronic MK Ultra, the use of ultrasound or kind of different technology, microwave, to interfere, influence the mind of people, what some people would call mind control. And so talk about MK Ultra, talk about, people say like, why they would bother to do all this stuff to you? You say like, well, we are not important at all. We are just guinea pig to trialing a program of social control and manipulation. Sometimes if you look at the way it's very strange and bizarre, because if you get people one moment they're engaging in gang stalking, but like if then you try to talk to them, and I don't mean to confront them, but just to have a conversation with them, a normal conversation. If you try to bring this up, they seem honestly to think there's the kind of cognitive schizophrenia on the part of people, because at the moment, people consciousness is if you start to analyze people consciousness in the age of the where the deep security state is even most to have complete control of everything happening in society, you will find out that the human consciousness at the moment is something that you will find very, very strange, things which are very strange and bizarre. Like in the way people, there's some kind of cognitive schizophrenia, and one moment people seem to believe something, then the next moment, I remember what happened when, that you have this video, when building number 7 collapsed, you have this video of the first responder on the ground floor shouting and move away, they're going to bring it down. But so they were admitting to the fact that it was a controlled demolition, as everyone can see. But then you go to talk to the same people now, they probably would deny that. Oh no, I never say that. So we have this complete cognitive schizophrenia, where in one moment people think like to adjust their belief in a rather opportunistic way of what I'm going to believe. I'm going to believe what is allowed me to hold on to my family. I'm going to believe, and next I'm going to believe what is going to allow me to, this kind of adaptive kind of process, whereby I'm going to believe what is going to allow me to hold on to my job. So it is kind of very strange cognitive schizophrenia. So when you talk to people, be aware that is quite complicated. It's not a straightforward process. Explaining to people about what's happening with targeting. But yeah, it is another thing I wanted to. It's like if you look at what was happening, I think is even though targeting it may affect a relatively small percentage of the population at the moment. I don't know. We may. And then it's very difficult because you have the people who are being targeted in a kind of very intensive kind of way. Because I was targeted between my early teen and my early 20, but I didn't have a clue. There was a kind of social engineering going on in my life, and like they were deciding who I was supposed to be friends with. Like I wanted to be friends with someone. Oh no, that is a bad influence. So they were maneuvering of the situation. You're not going to be friends with this person, but there is this other guy which is like you should be friends with this person because this is this other. Schoolmate or something, because that can be a good influence on you. And then years later you discover that actually then you make friends with this person, and then years later you actually discover that actually for you thought of this person as a friend, and then years later you discovered that from the point of view of this person, it was like an assignment. It didn't consider you a friend, but it considered an assignment to have a good influence on you. So there was all this stuff going on between my early teen and my early 20s, I knew something was wrong. So I was being targeted in a kind of soft targeting way. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't put my finger on it, and that was causing me enormous amount of anxiety and insecurity, and then. But so I didn't have a clue. But then when I was like in my early 20s at university, and then I became I became quite active in the student movement. I became quite political, and that was not just me. It was a very political time. It was in Italy at the time. I was in Italy at the time, and so that was I became very political. That was a million young Italian people that became very political, but because they had already been keeping an eye on me for for the previous 10 years. And they thought that they had done some wonderful thing to make myself well adjusted. I was considered to be ill adjusted. So they were doing all this thing, engineering all my social life, interfering in all my social life and things. And that was supposed to be very helpful. And then they thought that, oh, I become very radicalized politically. Oh, we were wasting all this, like that they were very disappointed because, oh, it all came to nothing, all that. All their effort to make me into a well-adjusted person, instead I became very radicalized politically, which was the same for millions of other young Italian people at the time. I mean, there was nothing exceptional about it. But then they thought, oh, what they started to do after I became quite radicalized politically at university. So one summer, I think it was the end of the third year, was the summer recess. And then all hell started breaking loose, and then when I started to get full-blown aggressive targeting, and then I started to understand, I started to connect some dots, and when you get some full-blown aggressive targeting, you realize that something is badly wrong, and then you start to see the way things are shaping, and so you start to connect a few dots. Even though in the beginning you still don't have a clue about the whole picture, but gradually you keep getting the intense and aggressive targeting, and then you start to connect more and more dots, and then you start to and then you start to see the whole picture. But then if you manage to stay out of trouble for the first 6 to 12 months, and not to do any self-harming, and avoid any kind of major entanglement with the psychiatric system, then in a way your situation starts to stabilize, and your life is total garbage, but still, I mean, you start to learn strategies, to stay out of trouble, and to calm yourself down, to avoid certain situations, etc. And it's not that your life becomes particularly pleasant, but at least you learn on how to survive. So I mean, we don't know how many people are really being targeted, because we know about the people, the survivors, the people that have been subjected at some point to heavy intensive targeting, and then they end up getting a pretty good idea what is going on. I don't know. I mean, it's baffling. I may say maybe a couple of thousand people in this country, several thousand people in the United States. But what about all the people who are in the situation when I was myself between my early teen and my early 20s? They interfere in your life in a kind of soft way. And but you don't have any. How many of these people are around? They interfere in your life in a kind of soft way, so you don't have a clue what is going on. And how many of these people are around? How many people get used in the military, in hospitals, psychiatric hospital, universities, various institutions. How many people are getting, this kind of soft targeting, or they're being used in one-off experiment, maybe one-off experiment that maybe have lasting effect on their life, their quality of life, testing some medication, because all this stuff that all the medication they're giving people have been thoroughly tested. They're just poisoning people right, left, and center. I mean, so yeah, I mean, it's all a lie. The fact that all the medication they're prescribing to people, they put on the market, they have been thoroughly tested. Total nonsense. Most of this stuff is lethal, it's dangerous. I mean, think of thalidomide, think of many of. I mean, it's the mind boggles. So, I mean. So I mean, we may say like survivors, people which have been at some point heavily targeted, intensively targeted, then realize, start to see a bit the larger picture, maybe communicate with other individual target. And we may say, I don't know, it's at the end of the day, it's quite baffling. Or you may say 2,000 people in this country, maybe up to 2,000 people, several thousand people in the United States. Possibly 2,000 people in country like I would say 2,000 people maybe in country like Poland, because I mean there is this very active TI movement in Poland, in 10,000 in France, in Italy, in Spain. But how many of the soft targeting situation we have in society? Where like myself, between my teen and my 20, I was getting this soft targeting, this constant interference in my social life, which if you have like all this stuff going on in the background, but you're unable to understand what is going on, it's enough to drive someone completely mad. Basically, I mean, there's all this stuff behind your back, and you say, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And so enough to drive you up to drive you off your but so we have the say 2,000, but how many people are getting like I come across, I must be honest with you, I was watching a documentary at some point where it was like a documentary about, you can see the bailiff working, evicting people, tenants not paying their rents, and there was a number of situations, and I think there was a couple of people say, oh my God, these people are targeted individual, because they about sometimes you about something, doing something a bit stupid or something, and say, oh, that must be a target, not because targeted individuals are stupid, but I mean, what I mean is something which you seem you can possibly explain why this person did that. I think like, oh, that to me like sound like a target individual. Someone is being targeted. Someone is being interfered with. So so you have all the situations which are quite clear cut. We may say up to 2,000 people in this country, but but you have all the soft situation. How many of them are around in society? I mean, people, in all different parts of the community, people interfering with other people's social life. Testing some new medication, dangerous medication. Experimenting with different things, and we know all the experiments they were conducting on low-ranking military personnel in this country, irradiating them with obnoxious substances, and see if, how much it took to get them to get cancer or whatever. So so if you, I think it's a larger, I think we may say like 2,000 of people really heavily targeted, then they start to realize what's going on. But how many of people being soft targeted in society there are? It may be 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. And then they probably get really damaged, and then they get afraid, they don't even like particularly dare to think of what's happening to them. Yeah, so basically I think what's happened what's happening in former East Germany, as I'm sure most of you know already. With the, for one thing, they say like that there was documents leaking and coming out after the fall of the Berlin Wall, whereby it seemed that that was a large part of the population spying on a smaller portion of the population. So it seemed like almost everyone was involved in this thing. Either they were spied on, or they were one doing the spying, and there was parents spying on their children, and children spying on their parents, and teachers spying on their pupils, and pupils spying on their teachers, and the rest of it. So it was quite extensive. It seemed that in a way that was used at the time when there is Gorbachev and Glasnost, all this stuff going on in the former Soviet Union. It's good to remember when we are talking about former Germany and Stasi that actually the communist government in East Germany was probably the last government in Eastern Europe to surrender to, or to relinquish power, basically. So you have already like the glasnost in all this thing happening in the old Soviet Unions, and changes happening in all the other Eastern European countries. You still had at the time Henry Honecker, which was the leader of the president of East Germany, and the leader of the Communist Party was still holding on to power and refusing to go. So it's quite interesting to remember that East Germany was probably the last Eastern European communist government to relinquish power. So basically, so you have this everyone spying on everyone else, and thus at the time when there was a lot of flux and change in Europe, in Eastern Europe, you may argue that all this spying was the way the communist government was maintaining political and social control. So that would have been otherwise possible without the spying. But then also we know that in the mid-80s, Stasi, at least in the mid-80s, it's not entirely clear if you go back even further. Stasi, the former Stasi Secret Service, started this Zersetzung program, which Zersetzung, I don't speak German, but all I know is that Zersetzung is a German word which means undermining. And basically, so it would appear that due to the political climate change, the changed political climate in Europe, it became more difficult for the communist government to just imprison dissidents, or for Stasi to just imprison dissidents. So what they decided to do, apparently, instead they launched this Zersetzung program, which was basically, instead of imprisoning dissidents, it was about harassing and dissident to destruction and to death. Because actually we know that some of these dissidents, then they didn't go to prison, but some of them end up committing suicide, or losing the reason. And so you get all this stuff happening. People start getting mobbed. You start like expressing yourself very vocally against the Communist Party, the government, and then you start getting mobbed at work. And then you end up losing your job. And then maybe you end up being thrown out of your flat, of your house, and then you go home, you find that the door of your flat has been broken down, everything been ransacked, and the stuff has been stolen, compromising material has been left behind, everything has been trashed, and you get here in the street, you get harassed in the street, you get beaten up in the street by thugs. And so a lot of these dissidents ended up either losing their reason or losing their life, or you get dragged to the court on some frivolous pretext, and for months and months, a year, you have to appear, and all this stuff going on. So you may argue that in a way the ever-present spying and this Zersetzung program was the way in which the communist government of the time, in a time of great flux and change all through Europe, they're still managing to keep in control, to maintain political and social control. You can see there is a lot of connection everywhere. Zersetzung, what they were doing in East Germany, with the Zersetzung program is very, very, very similar to what is happening today to target individuals with gang stalking. And then people it's quite, you can find a lot of connection, like, most of the Nazi scientists and in the same way as most of the Nazi scientists, a lot of Nazi intelligence officers, they end up being employed either by the old Soviet Union or in larger part by the United States and by NATO. You can see that it's quite interesting that the last Stasi director, which presumably was also the architect of the Zersetzung program, which at least it happened under his watch. On his watch, a guy called Markus Wolf, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, he moved to the United States, where he became an asset of the US intelligence, and then apparently, Markus Wolf, former Stasi director, after 9/11, he became one of the main architects of in the creation of the of the Department of Homeland Security. That's what he was possibly the main architect. So you can see all this connection. And then, if you look at what's happening, in our society at the moment, in Western society, I would say, in NATO countries, even though the number of people being targeted with like aggressive, full-blown targeting is possibly, arguably, relatively small, at least compared with the overall number of the population. And then you have all this soft targeting, which is possibly, you have slavery. Now they say we have in this country there is a huge amount of people working in human trafficking, slavery. They say in this country now we have a huge amount of people which basically they working in slavery. I'm sure there is the same in the United States. I'm totally sure it's the same, if not worse, in many other European countries. So when you talk instead of soft targeting, like I described soft targeting just now, then who knows how many thousands of people, are involved? Because I think possibly we are talking about maybe 100,000 people involved, used as guinea pig, being trafficked, or being working in condition of slavery, being interfered with to get into their social life, being engineered by other people. You have the PREVENT program, which is it's quite interesting what's happening with the PREVENT program in the sense of our society moving toward some kind of Orwellian kind of model, so you have to all this stuff, but then you need to, and then you have this kind of, it's quite interesting because you wouldn't find anyone most of the time prepared to help target individual in Western society or to acknowledge that what is happening to us is real. You won't find it. I mean, I've been dealing a lot with fellow political activists in all the different campaigns in London, and I found I made friends with a lot of people. I found a lot of people expressing some sympathy, maybe in a rather superficial way. But in terms of getting really, help, of support, real support. I mean, it's difficult to find a real help of support from political activists, from political groups or political parties, from any human rights association, from the judiciary, from law enforcement, from human rights association, Amnesty International, warmongering for the establishment for how many years, but liberty. So, and the thing is quite interesting because then you think back to former Germany. There was the spying, there was the Zersetzung program. That was kept all the state in control. And then you think like. I think what is happening in NATO countries at the moment with targeting, and you think, it affects only a relatively small number of people directly, and then we have all this huge area of soft targeting all over the place. But it may actually be possible that the targeting is actually something which allow a situation of social control, whereby at the moment there is a lot of tension in society. In this country we are dealing with Brexit. There is a lot of division in the United States. There is a lot of division in many European countries, in France, in Italy, in Hungary. So it's quite possible that targeting at the time of the European Union is slightly falling apart at the moment. So you have to ask the question. It's quite possible that in this climate of flux and where there is so much tension, so much pressure on institutions, and then in this country we have since 2010 there was austerity, which has been destroying most public services, which I think is total insanity, because if you take money out of the economy, you destroy public services, you take money out of the economy, you don't just cause people to die in great numbers, you see with every week they're closing a new fire station, new hospital, every week they close. But also, if you systematically take money out of the economy, you strangle the economy. So, we see in this country with the state, which again is creating a lot of pressure. There is an increasing number of people being pushed, working people, being pushed into abject poverty. Then you have to wonder, you have to wonder, is targeting actually, we think back about former Germany, former Stasi, is actually what allow in a way the maintenance of some sort of social control, where you may say that many of the society institutions are totally crumbling, and I talking about NATO countries is actually what is keeping Western society together is actually at the moment is actually a big element in keeping things together is targeting. Like people take part in targeting. People can see how horrific targeting is. People don't want to wake up one day and find out that all these strange things are happening to them. So you have to wonder, is in the way that this kind of fear-based climate, whereby you can talk about targeting. If you talk about targeting, you are crazy. Like I suppose, like in former Germany, so if you go if you go telling people we think they're spying on everybody and they are harassing dissidents, and the next day you get a knock on your door or something. So, or either the psychiatrist or so. It's in the same way. Is that possible that what is actually the collant, the glue that keep our society together at the moment is actually this? It's like 2/3 of society people in society like harassing and tormenting the other third, or you know. So it's like to tell the society. Harassing and tormenting the remaining part of society, like it's and in a widespread climate of fear, in the context of a widespread climate of fear. And then you have to wonder: is that what keep our society together at the moment? Like in former Germany, where the fact that everyone was spying on everyone else, and they were harassing dissident. In our society, maybe the fact that uh, two-thirds of society they harassing and tormenting the remaining people, the rest of us. And is that what keep our society together? And the fact that obviously if that is at the very heart of the social fabric, you're not allowed to talk about it, because if something is the foundation, the base on which everything else is built in society, then you're not allowed to talk about. And then there is this kind of almost also another thing that may actually be some sort of collant glue keeping our society together is this kind of shared belief that if you're targeted, you must be embed and dangerous person. So if you're targeted, it's something you can question. You're not allowed to question. Like, so it's like some religious, quasi-religious, superstitious belief. You can question. So in a way, is what keeps our society together. The shared belief that that you can question. That if you if you're being targeted, it's because you are a bad and dangerous person. And that is something you don't question. It's like a quasi-religious, quasi-superstitious belief, and something you don't question. So and then most of the time this turns out to be an assumption which is completely disproved by fact. Is most targeted individuals, they never hurt anyone in their entire life. They never been indicted or convicted of any crime. So why are people supposed to be bad and dangerous if they never hurt anyone in their entire life? They never been indicted or convicted of any crime. Yeah. Why target individuals are supposed to be dangerous? The real dangerous people, often VIP pedophile or or genuinely dangerous people which you may think they may be likely to hurt people, to go out and hurt people. They completely left to their own devices. But target individuals, most of the time, people never hurt anyone in their entire life. They never abuse anyone. They never, and they never been indicted of any crime or convicted of any crime. But there is almost this quasi-religious belief. If you need to belong, if you're to belong to the to the community, to be a member of the community, to belong to the community, you need to share this belief. That you need to share this belief without asking any question. That target individuals, the people being tormented and harassed in a murderous way, they're bad and dangerous people. It's like a quasi-religious belief. It's like it give you access to being a member of society, to member of the community. So if some like dogma, you can question. So you have to wonder what part, in a way, NATO country at the moment, there's a lot of falling apart and disintegration caused by austerity, caused by completely degrade of public services, the infrastructure. You can see it everywhere. Is you have to wonder if actually the collant, the glue that still keeps society together is this fact that this dynamic whereby there is the great majority of people they engage in harassing and tormenting a small number of people, and there is like this religious dogma you can possibly question in any way, that if you find yourself in this position, it's your fault because you're a bad and dangerous person. And the fact, the fact that most target individuals, they never hurt anyone in their entire life, or they never being indicted or convicted of any crime doesn't make the slightest difference. So and then you have all these VIP people, and then they are pedophile, without naming anyone. I mean, but there's very strong circumstantial evidence about a huge number of VIP, all the people associated with. I don't want to go into details, not to get in trouble, but all the people formerly associated with Jimmy Savile, the late Jimmy Savile, a lot of these people are just, there's plenty of circumstantial evidence they are pedophile. And then you have all people that, there's strong circumstantial evidence they may end up one day hurting people, abusive husbands, people which, they may think, or may think a good idea to blow their people up or something, without going into details. But so you have all these lot of people, that one day they may end up like hurting other people. Most of the time they've been completely led to their own devices. But target individual, the people who don't pose any threat to anyone, who should never hurt anyone in their entire life, and who they've never been indicted or convicted of any crime. There is not this religious dogma to belong in society. To belong, to be a member of the community, to belong in the community, you need to share this completely demented, insane, deranged, unhinged belief that we need to do this stuff to target individuals, to contain them, because they're supposed to be bad and dangerous. And it's not something you can discuss, because the moment they will start discussing it with you, it will become immediately apparent that is all a lot of bullshit, right? So I mean, it's not something you can possibly acknowledge or discuss, because the moment you start acknowledging or discussing it, it will become immediately apparent that this belief that target individuals are bad and dangerous people that need to be contained is total bullshit. So obviously, it's not something you can talk about, it's not something you can acknowledge, or it's not something you can discuss. So I think for today, I'm going to call it a day, and I hope that that is going to be a huge amount of people coming on Wednesday. I think there is going to be quite a bit of people. How many exactly, I rather not say just now, but I have a feeling that it's going to be rather well attended. I will encourage everyone to take part, target individuals, to meet new people, make friends, exchange experiences. A political activist. I mentioned this instance about this guy in Bristol, which was describing things which, it seemed to pertain more to this gang stalking than to actually the normal harassment meted out to political activists. So I target the political activists. I will encourage to if you've been a political activist, you have been getting my emails and my newsletters, and then you wonder what it's all about. And then you may think there may be actually a bit of truth in what we are saying. It's come along and talk to people and discuss things with people. Then if you're a political activist, it's probably something which pertains to your own experience as well, because sooner or later, the political activist way experience what kind of strange thing happened to them, and they're not sure, it's by design, it's by accident. Come along, discuss with us, may open your mind a bit and maybe understand better maybe some of the things which may have been happening to you in the past, or some of the things which may happen to you in the future. if you are belong to the doing involved in some alternative media operation or project or something, come along, come along and see what it's all about. And you're welcome to. And I notice a bit of a controversial. Some people like say, oh, I don't want to be filmed, I don't want to be you know I don't want to be recorded and stuff. And we will deal with that with the uppermost respect. If people don't want to be filmed, they're not going to be filmed and stuff. But it's also important that we doing some filming and some recording and some broadcasting, because that's is part of the spreading awareness. So if you belong to some kind of alternative media, or you're active in alternative media, come along and speak to people. Then you'll be able to do some. If people agree, you'll be able to do some recording of what is going on and our festival, and you may be able to use it later if you want. So I will invite everyone to come along, like a target individual, political activists, people in alternative media. Come and have a look and record something. You may be able to use it later. So yes, that's all now, and for now. And also I'm thinking of reviving a bit. Some of the things we were doing in 2016, 2017, because starting with the end of kind of October, November 2015, we had been having a lot of in London. We'd be having a lot of meeting and protest, and they're usually quite well attended, and they were also very, very frequent. So I mean, sometimes when we start having a weekly thing outside the House of Parliament, every week there were still like maybe 4 or 5 people, 3 people coming, which was quite remarkable. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I have a suspicion. That traditionally I believe in like kind of creative activism. Like if you are looking for different things, if you spot some way in which you may try to create new awareness and get people attention, you go for it. So I mean. So I will come up with new ideas from protesting outside the House of Parliament to go a bit get crashing the Westminster media on College Green, and so I will try to find new way to get because most people like the tendency usually when it comes to politicians and fellow political activists, fake stream media, the tendency usually to completely ignore you. So you need to look for new way, or try to force them to pay some attention to what you do. And I have a suspicion that people stopped completely coming to my event. It's like I think it was like at the end of nothing happened. Nothing happened to explain it at all. It was just about to the end of last year. I mean, in autumn 2017. All of a sudden, I was still organized the same meeting, the same protest. Everyone disappeared. So, and it's like someone at some point completely pulled the plug on the whole thing. And it is, and this it's quite interesting, because I think one of the last things I managed to do, which was drawing a few people to join me, it was when I organized on three different occasions. That was about end of August 2017, September, maybe going up to reaching to the beginning of October. And I started doing this thing, which was I called the lobbying Julian Assange thing, like which. And I have a suspicion that actually the powers that be at this point, they decide this guy is getting increasingly, to be a pain in the neck, and we need to. I think we need to find any possible way to pull the plug and to discourage him from carry on doing stuff and coming up with new ideas and stuff. Because I think the lobby Julian Assange may have been actually, because after that everyone stopped, everyone disappeared. And the lobby Julian Assange was about basically going outside the Ecuadorian embassy where Julian Assange was. I mean, I've been supporting Julian Assange for a very long time, even before, I don't remember which year he got into the, it may have been 2012 when he took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy. And even before that, I remember being on a few occasions outside when he was having some court hearing at the Westminster Magistrate Court. In other location, I remember I was outside with talking, leafleting about targeting and talking with different people. So even then I was kind of supporting him. And then I was outside the embassy for all the major events when in the first couple of years there he was still coming out to speak on the balcony. And then he kind of stopped, and I don't know the reason, or he was security concerns. He didn't want to provoke the British government, or because he was a bit dependent on the goodwill of the British government. So I don't know why, but it's the first couple of years he was coming out to the balcony speaking and stuff. So I remember I was there. I was there the day we knew he was granted asylum by the Ecuadorian government. I remember it was the Ecuadorian foreign minister. Julian came out of the window talking in the company of the Ecuadorian foreign minister, a guy called Ricardo Patino, which was foreign minister then. Now there's a different one. But so in the different governments in Ecuador. But so then at some point I was going there quite often to support Julian, and then the idea came to me to be there and to use the megaphone and because the Ecuadorian embassy is on the ground floor, very close to the street. So if you use a megaphone, Julian is bound to hear everything you say, basically. Like, so he's not going to come out to respond or anything, but he can hear you. So I came up with the idea of using a megaphone, and at the time is not something I would have done recently, because recently, in the last 4 months, Julian has been kept completely incommunicado, and so they cut off his internet. They prevent him from using a mobile phone by using jammers. They preventing him from using a landline phone, and then preventing him from receiving any visitors, with the exception of his legal team. So it's a rumor that is actually having some kind of nervous breakdown or something. So it's not something I would do now, because I wouldn't do anything now to cause him any, even risking in any way to cause him any distress or anything. But at the time, the situation seemed to be quite all right. I mean, and so I came up with the idea of being out there with a megaphone and conveying this kind of message to Julian. Julian, please help us expose organized stalking and electronic harassment. Julian, you may be a victim of electronic harassment too. Julian, please Google organized stalking, electronic harassment. Julian, please help us expose these activities, etc., etc., etc. Which I did. Then I ended up doing on 3 different occasions. So and that was a different event. It was not like an event organized by Julian Assange supporters. It was just a TI event where it was only us. So on the first occasion, there was maybe 4 or 5 target individuals out there. Then I spent maybe a couple of hours with the megaphone, quite loud. And then after a few weeks, I organized the second one. And then again, there was maybe slightly less, 3 or 4 target individuals. Again, with the megaphone, we took videos that was seen by a lot of people at the time, and it seemed to get a lot of interest because in a way, that was also about associating the issue of targeting individual, of targeting with the better known, better issue of what was happening to Julian Assange, tried in a way to get a bit jump on the bandwagon and or to associate ourselves with that, use it as a way of to raise our profile, the profile of targeting, and to get more exposure for targeting. And then I thought that quite a people in the alternative media, they contacted me, and they seemed to be quite interested in what I was doing. But then the last time, the third time I tried to do that, again, I did advertise it. There was possibly a number of people who said they were going to join me. I was there. I was targeted very heavily at the time, but I still managed to get there on time. And in front of the embassy, I was there on my own. And I think is the fact that we did this thing for 3 times. I think if it was getting us a lot of exposure, a lot of attention from people, maybe normally wouldn't have been like interesting in looking into targeting. So that's what I felt at the time. But on the third occasion I tried to do this, I was there on my own, and then is when it started, because we had maybe in the following week there was another protest outside Parliament, and then I started organizing this protest. I find myself there on my own, and then maybe after maybe there was one other person, and then next week again this. I was finding myself there again outside Parliament on my own. And this thing, it maybe happened before, during 2016 or 2017, but then if I had like a week, I was there on my own, then maybe the following week immediately there was maybe 5, 6, 7 people. So, but this time it was happening like almost all the time. And then, by the beginning of 2018, January, February, I completely stopped organizing events because people, people, a lot of people also disappeared, in the sense that I don't know, they were stop answering the phone. If you try to contact them, you had to speak with the answering machine. The people were not getting back to you, unlike before. So like by January, February 2018, I decided to kind of stop and start doing stuff on my own, which I've been doing quite frequently then, like, with my placard and shouting slogan on College Green, where all the Westminster media is assembled, then being outside the main entrance to Parliament, and being in front of Downing Street, being in front of the BBC Broadcasting House. So I started to do a lot of stuff on my own. I would say people, like, look, if you want to, my telephone number, if you want to join me, just give me a ring and we can arrange to go there together. But, usually that's all. But so that's a bit the history of what's happening 2016, 2017 with Les, London and Stalking. And now, after this London TI day is over, I don't know, I think I may try again to, I don't know, it's, to start again organizing a meeting, possibly a friend meeting house in Houston, where we were having them before, or organizing protests in different locations. I'm not entirely sure, because obviously it always depends on people coming. But so yeah, I'm thinking of maybe after this thing is over, and let's see how it goes, and then maybe and then maybe start again, try to organize meeting and try to organize a few protests around London. I'm not entirely sure yet, because it probably depends very much it's to see how London TI Day goes. It's just it's the way, it's in a way you do it. If you do it, you do it for the cause, so to speak, or the cause of spreading awareness. Because sometimes like you have a lot of problem in your personal life, you have a housing problem, you have all this kind of stuff going on, and then you organize a meeting, and then it's a successful meeting. But then, well, that's good. But then when the meeting is over, you go back to your problems. There's nothing has changed. There's nothing has improved. So it's sometimes it's a bit difficult between this dynamic between your personal life and organizing thing so anyway, that's all for now. I really hope to see a lot of people on Wednesday, which is actually what this broadcast was mainly designed to do, to encourage people to join us on Wednesday. That's applied to target individual, applied to political activists. We are super welcome, and applied to people which are active in the alternative media. So yeah, I hope to see as many people as possible on Wednesday, to make it a big festival in front of BBC Broadcasting House. Maybe people even bringing laptops, showing passerby, playing videos on TI documentaries on their laptop. A big festival, good nature, friendly, with good vibes, with good positive energy, and using placards, using literature, different literature, showing people books, showing people good article on targeting, the one which are all referenced, and with all the, with the documented information, and even using gadget, mobile phone, laptop to film, to show people good video about targeting, and so yeah, that's all for now. And I may or may not have another TI news video before Wednesday. And I hope that Wednesday there is going to be a huge amount of people. So a big hug to everyone, to the people who are going to come on Wednesday, to the people who are unable to come on Wednesday, and that's all for now.